I never really thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating. Honestly, I always believed in the whole trust and honesty thing. Jason and Amanda had been together for about 8 years. We weren't perfect, but we had a decent life. I worked as a mechanic fixing cars all day, and Amanda was a freelance graphic designer. She was bitchy and could be a real pain in the ass, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, though, things felt off. Amanda had been acting weird, more dismissive, more irritated, snapping at me over little things. She'd brush off my questions about her day and get defensive when I tried to talk about us. I figured it was just stress or her being bitchy, but I couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. She started canceling plans last minute, and her phone became a fortress I wasn't allowed near anymore. I'd catch her sneaking her phone out of the room or hiding it when I came close. Then came the oddest thing. Last Tuesday, I had to take my car in for a routine service. Nothing special, just a basic checkup, oil change, brake inspection. Amanda had been complaining about her car acting weird lately, so I told her I'd take her car too, get it checked out. She just rolled her eyes and snapped, "Whatever, I don't care, just don't waste my time." That attitude was typical lately, bitchy, dismissive, like she didn't care about our relationship anymore. I dropped her off at her favorite coffee shop, then headed over to the mechanic, Mike's Auto. Mike and I go way back. We've been fixing cars for years. As I was waiting, I noticed a woman, probably in her early 30s, leaning against the counter, giggling at something Mike said. I recognized her immediately. It was Amanda. She was laughing way too close, touching his arm like they were old friends. My stomach dropped. I kept pretending to browse the magazines, but I couldn't stop watching her. When she finally left, I followed her, just out of curiosity. I saw her get into a car, definitely not mine, and drive off to some apartment complex downtown. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That was the moment I realized she'd been lying about her car problems. She'd gone to see the mechanic, but not for the reason she'd told. Me, I was furious, confused, and hurt all at once. How long had this been going on? Was I blind? I started piecing things together. The missed calls during the day, the late nights I thought she was working late, her sudden and inexplicable irritability. It all made sense now. She'd been sneaking around with Mike, the mechanic. I didn't even know she was sleeping with him, but I had a sinking feeling it had been going on for weeks, maybe months. The betrayal hit hard. I trusted her with everything. I even bought her that new purse last month, and she'd been lying the entire time. The worst part, she still acted like nothing was wrong when I confronted her. When I got home that night, I found her in the living room looking at her phone with that bitchy smirk she always wore. I told her I knew. I told her I saw her at Mike's, that I knew she'd been lying about the car, about us. Her reaction, she just rolled her eyes, shrugged, and said, "Oh, come on, Jason. You're overreacting. It's not even a big deal. Just a stupid affair with some mechanic. It's not like I'm in love with him or anything." That fucking tone, like I was supposed to just accept it and move on. I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. How could she be so callous? How could she lie to my face for so long? It's like she didn't even care about what she'd done. That moment I realized I was dealing with someone who didn't respect me, didn't value what we had. But I didn't say anything yet. I just stood there, staring, trying to process what I'd just discovered. I was angry, but also completely broken. I didn't even know what to feel first. All I knew is my world had just been shattered in a way I never saw coming. After I confronted her and she dismissed everything, I knew I had to think. My mind was racing, trying to piece together the extent of her lies, her betrayal, and how I'd let it go on for so long without noticing. It hurt, more than I care to admit. I felt like a damn idiot for trusting her so blindly. But I also knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Without a fight. The next few days were a whirlwind. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with Mike, touching him like he was the only person in the world that mattered. Every time I looked at her phone, I felt a mixture of rage and sadness. It was like I was living in someone else's nightmare. I kept telling myself I needed to do something. I couldn't just accept this betrayal and move on. But what? I started digging. I know it sounds obsessive now, but I had to understand what exactly was going on. I pulled up her phone records, her social media accounts, and even hacked into her email. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed answers. That's when I found the messages. Plenty of flirty texts, suggestive photos, and some downright explicit exchanges. She was cheating on me with Mike, no doubt about it. She'd been lying about her car problems just to cover her tracks. It was like a slap in the face every time I found something new, every screenshot, every message. The worst part, she had told me she hated cheating, that she was too busy for stupid affairs, and that she loved me. Yeah, right. Once I had the evidence, I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug. I also knew I had to confront her again, this time with everything. I decided I'd do it face to face, not like some angry lunatic, but as someone who deserved the truth. I set up a time to meet her at our place, told her I wanted to talk. When she arrived, she was bitchy as usual, rolling her eyes, acting like I wasn't worth her time. I laid everything out, the messages, the times I saw her by Mike's, her reaction when I called her out, her response. She started lying again, saying things like, "Oh, that's just a stupid misunderstanding," or "You're paranoid, Jason. You've got trust issues, not me." I felt my blood boil. She was so calm, so dismissive, like she didn't even care how much she'd hurt me. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about trust anymore. She didn't see me as her husband, her partner. She saw me as some kind of obstacle. Seeing her lie so easily, so nonchalantly, made me realize I'd been blind for too long. I thought I loved her, but now I saw she was just a bitchy, self-centered woman who didn't care about us at all. Her excuses. She said Mike was just a friend, that she was trying to figure things out, and that I was overreacting because I was insecure. The thing was, she kept lying, changing her stories, denying everything, making me doubt what I knew was real. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every time I looked at her, I saw a stranger, someone capable of betraying me so coldly, so ruthlessly. That's when I realized I couldn't keep pretending it was okay. I had to decide, do I fight for us or walk away? The emotional toll was enormous. I went from being furious to feeling like a complete failure. How could I have missed the signs? How did I let her manipulate me all this time? I remembered all the small things, her dismissive attitude, her snarky comments, her late nights. I questioned if I'd been so blind because I wanted to believe in us, or because I was too scared to face the truth. I felt betrayed, not just by her but by myself for trusting her so blindly. That's a terrible feeling, knowing you gave someone everything and they threw it all away for some cheap affair with a mechanic. I knew I wasn't going to stay quiet forever, but I needed time to process everything, to cool down and think about what I really wanted. Her telling me she loved me one minute and then cheating on me the next, it was like she didn't even care. I think deep down I always knew she could be this way, but I refused to see it. Now, now I saw her for who she really was, a bitchy, selfish woman who only loved herself and her stupid, pointless affairs. I didn't want to be her punching bag or her fool anymore. I deserved better, even if that meant losing her forever. After that confrontation, I didn't just sit around and stew in my anger. No, I knew I had to do something concrete. Sitting in a puddle of my own heartbreak wasn't going to fix anything. I started planning my next move, not just to hurt her, but to make sure she understood just how badly she screwed up. Revenge wasn't my initial goal, but after everything I'd uncovered, her lying, cheating, and acting like I was some idiot, I realized I needed to even the score a little. First, I decided to gather more evidence. I didn't trust just her word anymore. I wanted every text, every call, every sneaky meeting documented. I installed a GPS tracker on her car. No, I'm not proud of it now, but at the time, I needed to see exactly where she went and when. Turns out she'd been driving to that apartment complex almost every other night. Sometimes she'd stay for hours, sometimes just a quick visit. I was pissed but also oddly relieved. At least now I knew the truth for sure. Then I thought about how I could turn this around to get some satisfaction. I knew her weakness, her ego. She was always bitching about how she was too busy to be with me, how I didn't understand her needs, and how she deserved more. I decided I'd give her a taste of her own medicine, but with a twist. I started planning a small sting. I reached out secretly to Mike, pretending to be interested in buying his parts, asking him questions about her car and her visits. I kept all the messages, all the details. I wanted to know exactly how deep this went, how often they saw each other, what they talked about. I had no intention of letting this go quietly. Meanwhile, I also reached out to a private investigator friend. I told him to keep an eye on her and gather any additional proof I might need. I wasn't just going to confront her blindly. I wanted to have all my facts straight, and more importantly, I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be played anymore. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how much she'd lied, how far she'd gone. I started to prepare myself emotionally. I knew that, no matter what I found, I couldn't just explode without consequences. I had to be strategic. I wasn't going to storm into her and accuse her, at least not yet. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to see that I had evidence and that I wasn't some naive fool anymore. I also knew I had to be careful because she was manipulative, good at twisting things around. I had to stay calm, collected, and ready for whatever she threw at me. One night I decided to follow her again just to confirm her pattern. I didn't want to be the crazy husband, but I needed to see with my own eyes. I hid behind some bushes near her apartment and watched her get out of her car. She was wearing the same tight dress, the same bitchy smirk. Then I saw Mike come out. He looked pleased, like he was getting his ego stroked. They went inside together. I saw enough. That image burned into my mind, her betraying me with a guy who serviced her car and probably more. The next morning I woke up with a mix of rage and clarity. I knew she was full of shit, lying and manipulating her way through our relationship. I knew I was going to do something. I didn't know what exactly, but I had to take back some control. I couldn't just let her get away with this. She thought she was untouchable, immune to consequences. But I was done playing nice. I was going to show her that actions have consequences, whether she liked it or not. I started drafting a plan. Part of me wanted to confront her outright, but I knew that would just make her defensive and more manipulative. No, I needed to play it smart. I'd have the evidence, the proof, and the words to make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I wasn't just hurting her. I was making sure she'd pay for what she did. The hurt, the betrayal, it all had to come crashing down. And I swear I was ready for that. Over the next couple of days, I kept my head clear, even though every fiber of my being was screaming for justice, or at least some form of revenge. I kept the evidence on lockdown, not trusting myself to act impulsively. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to do something bold, something that would make her realize the extent of her betrayal. I didn't want just a quiet breakup. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, to see that I wasn't going to be some pushover anymore. One night, I finally reached out to Mike. I posed as someone interested in buying parts for a project, and I started chatting him up. I kept it casual at first, asking about her car, her visits, her schedule. I pushed a little, trying to get more details, and he was surprisingly open. Told me she came in for her routine maintenance, but then they'd sit and talk for hours afterward. Said they'd gone out for drinks once, just casual, but he didn't think much of it. That was enough for me. I had what I needed, the confirmation that she'd been lying all along, that the car problem was just her excuse to spend more time with him. I also reached out to a friend I knew was good with digital forensics, just to double-check I wasn't missing anything. Turns out, I had enough to blow this whole thing wide open. I kept everything, screenshots, messages, GPS logs, and I was ready. My plan was to lay it all out at the right moment, to confront her with concrete proof she couldn't deny. Meanwhile, I decided to set a trap. I knew she'd try to spin her way out of it if I just sprung everything on her all at once. So I told her I wanted to talk, that I'd been doing some thinking. She showed up, obviously annoyed, probably didn't expect me to have anything. I sat her down and started laying out the evidence piece by piece. I showed her the texts, the GPS logs, the photos I'd taken of her coming out of Mike's place. Her reaction, classic. She got defensive, started lying again, trying to minimize everything. "It's nothing," she snapped. "Just some stupid flirtation. It doesn't mean anything. You're overreacting, Jason." She was trying to act like I was the crazy one, like it was all in my head. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I had her dead to rights. Her face got red, her voice trembling, but she kept insisting she was innocent, that I was jealous or paranoid. That was the moment I realized I had her cornered. I could see her panic brewing, her bitchy mask slipping just a little. I felt a strange mix of anger and relief. Anger because she'd betrayed me so deeply, and relief because I finally saw her true face. I told her I was done with her lies, her manipulations, her cheating. I told her I didn't want to be with someone who didn't respect me or our marriage. She yelled, called me crazy, said I was stalking her, trying to ruin her. That's when I finally lost my patience. I told her I had enough evidence to destroy her, to tell everyone what she'd been doing. I went on, telling her I was sick of her bitchy attitude, her lies, her betrayal. I told her I was done being her doormat, her punching bag. I was going to make her pay for what she did in whatever way I could. That was the turning point. Her face went blank and she finally realized I wasn't playing anymore. That's when she started crying, trying to make me feel guilty, but I just looked at her and said, "It's over, Amanda. You're dead to me." That night, I knew I had crossed a line, but honestly, I didn't care. She'd pushed me to the edge and I was finally standing up for myself. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I'd given her a taste of what she'd been avoiding. The truth, the consequences, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to see how much she'd really lost. After that confrontation, I felt like I'd finally taken control of the situation. But inside, I was a mess. The anger had subsided a little, replaced by this hollow ache in my chest. I'd always believed in the idea that you fight for what's worth it, but now I wondered if I'd been fooling myself all along. Was there any way back from this? Was she even worth the effort? Honestly, I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and I still felt the sting of betrayal deep in my gut. I decided I needed some space. I moved out of the house temporarily just to get some clarity. I stayed with a friend for a few days, not really wanting to be alone but knowing I couldn't keep living in that chaos. During that time, I kept reviewing everything, the evidence, her reactions, my feelings. I knew I wasn't going to rush into any decisions. I needed to think clearly about what I wanted, what I deserved. Meanwhile, Amanda was spinning her usual web of lies. She kept texting, claiming she was sorry, that she was confused, and that she didn't mean for any of this to happen. That bitch really thought she could just use words and make everything okay. I saw through her bullshit now. She was just trying to manipulate her way out like she always did. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew her tricks. One night she showed up at my friend's house begging me to talk. She looked pathetic, her makeup smudged, her bitchy attitude replaced by a desperate, pleading look. She threw herself at me, saying she loved me, that she'd made a mistake, and that she'd do anything to fix it. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time I saw her for what she truly was. Not the woman I married, but a manipulative, selfish woman who only cared about herself. I told her I needed time to think, that I wasn't ready to forgive her, that I needed to see her truly sorry, not just say the words. I told her I'd been hurt deeply, and I didn't believe she was capable of changing overnight. She got angry, called me names, accused me of trying to control her. But I stayed calm. I knew I had to stand firm this time. That night, I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I was done living in the fantasy that she'd change or that things could go back to how they were. Because they couldn't. Not after what I'd found, not after everything she'd done. I knew I needed to decide whether to walk away completely or try to salvage what little dignity I had left. Deep down, I knew I'd been giving her too many chances, chances she didn't deserve. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. I was better off without her, even if it hurt like hell to admit it. But I also understood one thing. This experience had changed me. I'd gone from the trusting husband to someone who's painfully aware of the betrayal, someone who's learned how fragile everything can be. It's a lesson in trust, in recognizing red flags before they get out of control. I don't regret what I've done because I needed to see the truth. I just wish it hadn't come at such a high cost. Now, I'm focused on healing and moving forward, knowing I deserve better than what she was willing to give. In the end, I walked away from everything. Her, the house, the life I thought we had built. It wasn't an easy choice. It never is. But I realized that holding on to someone who so blatantly betrayed your trust, who didn't respect the vows she made, only kept me chained to a pain I didn't deserve. I've learned that sometimes the only way to truly move on is to let go completely, no matter how much it hurts. Over the last few weeks, I've been focusing on myself. I started therapy, trying to understand how I let this happen and how I can rebuild my sense of self. It's not just about the betrayal, but about reclaiming my confidence, my peace of mind. I've cut all contact with Amanda. I don't want to hear her bullshit anymore. Every time I think about what she did, I remind myself I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty and loyalty. I refuse to be manipulated or lied to again. What this whole mess has taught me most is that trust is fragile, so fragile that it can shatter with a single lie. And once broken, it's almost impossible to put back together. I've seen the signs now, and I'll never ignore them again. I've also learned that revenge isn't always about hurting back. Sometimes it's about protecting yourself from further damage. Walking away was my way of saying enough is enough. Looking back, I realized that I was naive, maybe even a little blind. I believed in the idea of forever, in fairness and fidelity. But reality hit hard, and I had to face it. Sometimes people aren't who they pretend to be. Amanda was a bitchy, manipulative woman who thought she could play me for a fool. She underestimated my strength, my resolve, and my ability to see through her bullshit. I won't lie, I still feel the sting of heartbreak, but it's getting easier to breathe each day. I've learned to value myself more, to trust my instincts, to know that no matter how much I loved her, I deserved honesty and loyalty in return. This experience has been a brutal lesson, but one I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. I hope to find someone someday who genuinely cares, who won't lie or cheat. For now, I'll focus on healing, rebuilding, and making sure I never get caught in this kind of trap again. And to everyone reading this, if you're going through something similar, just remember, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away if someone shows you they don't value you. Because in the end, your happiness and self-respect are what matter most.